In the village of Amidi, the night Ngozi went into labor, the river that had run clear for 100 years turned black without warning. No one could explain it. The fishermen pulled their canoes ashore and would not return to the water for a week. Inside a small mud and thatch home lit by a single kerosene lamp, Ngozi's cries mixed with the low chanting of the midwives around her. Emeka paced outside the door, listening to every sound, praying to every ancestor he could remember the name of. When the child finally came, he did not cry, not once. The midwives fell silent, and one of them began to weep. A silent birth was an omen no one in Amidi wanted to speak aloud, but everyone in that room already knew its name. They named him Kelechi, thank God, as if the name alone could undo what everyone feared. By morning, word of the silent birth had traveled to every compound in Amidi, and by evening, the first crops began to wither. 2 days later, 3 goats dropped dead in the market square with no wound and no sickness anyone could find. A whisper became a rumor, and a rumor became a certainty. Something had entered Amidi the night the river turned black. Chief Nnamdi could no longer ignore the fear spreading through his people. He summoned Dibia Okonjo to the village square. The old Dibia arrived at dusk, his staff striking the dry earth with every step, cowrie shells rattling against his chest. He did not need to ask many questions. He asked only one. When did the child open his eyes for the first time? The same night the river ran black, someone answered. The Dibia closed his eyes and said nothing for a long, heavy moment. When he opened them again, his voice carried through the square like a verdict already written before he arrived. The river did not turn black on its own, the Dibia declared. A spirit child has entered this world wearing the face of an infant. A gasp swept through the crowd. Somewhere near the back, Emeka's knees nearly buckled beneath him. He did not cry at birth because he does not belong to us, the Dibia continued. He belongs to the forest that raised him before. Every death, every wilted crop, every black river from now until the day he is grown, Amayedi will carry the blame. Chief Nnamdi's voice shook as he asked the question no father should ever have to hear answered in public. What must be done? The Dibia did not hesitate. He must be returned to where such children belong. The forest at the village's edge. The villagers knew the place he meant. They called it, in whispers, the forest that does not forgive. Ngozi heard the verdict before anyone dared tell her directly. She was already running toward the square, baby Kelechi clutched to her chest. He is my son, she cried, falling to her knees before the Dibia. He has done nothing. He is only days old. It is not his fault, the Dibia said almost gently. But fault has never mattered to the things that wear an infant's face. Emeka pushed through the crowd to kneel beside his wife. For once, he found no words that could change anything. Chief Nnamdi looked away as he spoke the words that would haunt him for the rest of his life. It must be done tonight. 2 elders stepped forward to carry out the sentence. Ngozi's scream echoed through Amidi long after they took him. By moonlight, the elders carried baby Kelechi down the narrow path toward the forest's edge, Ngozi's cries fading slowly behind them. Emeka followed at a distance, unable to watch, unable to stay away. Torn in a way no father should ever be torn. The forest ahead seemed to breathe, mist curling low between the trees, the night sounds of Amadi falling silent the closer they came. At the tree line, the elders stopped. Neither of them was willing to step past where the old stories said the forest truly began. They laid Kelechi on a bed of leaves just inside the tree line, whispered an apology to a child too young to understand it, and turned back. Neither elder looked back as they walked away. Some things, once done, could not be looked at twice. The forest closed in around him with the sound of wind through leaves and the distant, patient call of something unseen. For the first time since his silent birth, Kalechi began to cry. A small, thin sound swallowed almost instantly by the trees. By the village, no one slept. Ngozi sat outside her door until dawn, staring at the tree line as though she could will him back. Mika did not sleep either. He stood at the edge of his compound long after the fires burned down to embers. By morning, Amadi began, slowly and carefully, to speak of Kalechi in the past tense, as villages do when grief needs somewhere to go. The crops did not recover that week, but the goats stopped dying and the river slowly began to run clear again. To the elders, this was proof enough. To Ngozi, it was the cruelest proof of all. What no one in Amadi knew was that the forest that does not forgive had a keeper. And she had heard the child cry. Niamara had lived at the forest's edge longer than anyone in the village could remember, further than any elder's grandmother could recall. Some in Amadi called her a witch, others called her a healer. No one who had actually met her agreed on which was true. She found him just before dawn, still breathing, still crying weakly, exactly where the elders had left him the night before. She lifted him carefully, studying his face in the pale morning light with an expression that was not fear, but something closer to recognition. "They called you cursed," she murmured to the child, so quietly the forest itself seemed to lean in to listen. They were wrong. She carried him deeper into the forest, past the tree line no villager had ever dared to cross, toward a place only she knew existed. 3 days later, a hunter from a neighboring village stumbled upon something at the forest's edge that made him drop his weapon and run. He returned to Amadi breathless, swearing before the chief that he had seen a child's footprints. Small, fresh, walking out of the forest. No infant should have been able to walk. No infant left in that forest 3 nights ago should have survived even one Dibia Okonjo was summoned again. This time, when he examined the footprints himself, his face did not hold its usual certainty. "These are not the prints of a spirit fleeing back to its own kind," he admitted quietly. "These are the prints of a child growing." Word reached Ngozi before the sun had fully risen. She was at the forest's edge before anyone could stop her, calling his name into the trees. The forest gave her no answer. But somewhere deep within it, a woman she had never met held her son and listened. Niamara looked down at the child in her arms, now 3 days stronger than any child had a right to be, and made a decision. "They abandoned you as a curse," she whispered. "I will raise you as what you actually are. And one day, Amadi will have to answer for this." Behind her, deeper in the shadows, something ancient and unseen shifted in the trees, as if it, too, had been waiting for him. The boy the village left to die had survived his first night. The truth of why would take much longer to surface. Cursed at Birth, Part 2, coming soon.